Hi, good morning everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to kick off in a few minutes just to make sure everyone who's registered to join us can attend. But in the meantime, it'd be great to know who's joining us today. So in the Q&A box, if you could, if you want, of course, put your name and the company you're calling from. We'll do a few shout outs and then we'll kick off shortly after that. Good morning, Ian Wardle from the Community Academies Trust. Thank you very much for joining us today. I think we'll start. So, like I said, good morning. Welcome to today's webinar, continuing our communication, continue your communication and collaboration transformation 2021. You're joined today. My name's Dan Felix. I am one of the marketing managers here at BCN Group. I'm joined by my colleague, Mark Knight, who is our cloud communications specialist, and he will be your main presenter for today. Both Mark and I have several years, or 10 years to be exact, working in this sector, so I'm sure you'll feel you're in very safe hands. But just before I hand over to Mark, your guest speaker, I just want to talk a little bit about BCN Group, because I'm conscious that some of you may or may not be aware who we are as an organisation. Our mission as a business is to make good organizations great by helping them operate smarter, faster, and more efficiently through technology. And by that, what we mean is we want to provide the very best in technology to every single business. We don't consider ourselves as just a one-trick partner. We consider ourselves as a full IT MSP. We offer a full range of IT services, from anything from cloud infrastructure to telecoms, hence why you're on with us today, and through DevOps. We also provide application development and SharePoint development services as well. We're independently owned. We're a financially sound organisation, more importantly. We have several accreditations, and we'll talk a little bit more about partner accreditations shortly. But we are an ISO 27000 and ISO 9001 accredited business. We have Cyber Essentials Plus, so you know that your data is safe with us. We're also an approved Crown and commercial services supplier as well. We currently work with, I'm trusted over by 1,000 clients, and we currently support around about 30,000 users as well. We also, as an organisation, like I said at the start, we don't consider ourselves as just an IT provider, one-trick pony. We don't consider ourselves as a full IT MSP. So all the services we offer is built into that, all overwrapped by our managed services offering, our managed support service offering. As I mentioned, we have several accreditations across the board, lots with partners, including RingCentral Ignite, We are one of the first partners in the north of England to reach that accreditation. We're a Microsoft Gold partner, but like I said, we don't consider ourselves a bit of a one-trick pony. We cover all aspects of IT, including security with Fortinet WatchGuard, connectivity. A part of this call today is around, we talked about collaboration communication with Yealink and Poly, and infrastructure as well. Just to mention some of our clients we work with all clients across the entire board, whether they be enterprise, mid-market or small. This is just some of the snapshots of the companies we work with. And again, various different levels of services they take from us, whether that's just infrastructure, whether that's with telecoms or cloud telephony, whether that's through development, and some of them just support, or actually some of them, in particular Metro Rod in this list, they take a fully managed service offering from us. And then just before I hand over to Mark, just one last quick slide I want to touch upon is our approach to what we offer as a business. Technology is ever changing, and so therefore, and completely evolving. So therefore, the process, our approach to any service is based on discover and propose, transform and adapt, and then manage and evolve. And that continually goes round. So you're never stuck with a piece of technology that can become obsolete in a year or so. We're always looking to take you through that next step. So I'm going to hand over to Mark in a minute. I just want to touch upon today's agenda. The first thing I want to say is today is a fully interactive session. So we'll do a Q&A bit at the end. We'll dedicate about 10-15 minutes to do that. So all the way through that, I would encourage you to add questions in the question Q&A box as we go along. So for the agenda today, we're going to mainly concentrate on communication and collaboration. So what 2020 has taught us, call meetings, huddles, customer engagement, how you take that to the next level, making the home office work for you. We're a big believer that actually this is going to continue for a lot of 2021, this hybrid approach to working, mixing between working from home and working from the office, but actually how can you continually evolve that and make sure your business and your staff are productive and operational. The new office environment, what that's now going to look like going forward. And then also we want to quickly touch upon, we've got to get you talking, we've got to get you collaborating a lot more than we did last year, but actually how do you keep that safe and actually how to use a lot of the tools available to you. So that's everything from me at this stage. Like I said, it's a full interactive session, so please add your questions in as we go along, but I'd like to hand it over to my colleague Mark.
Good morning. Yes, thank you. So as Dan was saying, we've got a bit of an agenda today. It's an open one. Feel free to ask questions in there. We'll keep them all to the end and then we'll go through a Q&A like Dan said. Feel free to ask your mind as we go, and I'll see what I can do to help to answer. So today's theme, future of working, communication and collaboration, and the tools that we need to use to do them, and I'm progressing on that. So without further ado, Microsoft's mission, it's to empower every individual and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And a big part of that is how we do that is helping our customers to digitally transform. That's Microsoft's mission statement, and it's also part of our statement as well, is to help our customers to transform and become better at what they do. Even before COVID-19, customers were investing in digital transformation to optimize operations, transform products, engage customers, and empower their people. But in the middle of the pandemic, there was a tremendous pressure like never seen before, sense of urgency on every company to increase their tech intensity and drive transformation. We're all in one office on the Monday, on the Tuesday, we're all at home. How do we make that work? So we've entered a truly digital age. Technology can amplify human ingenuity. It's as simple as that. And I think we agree with that. But people are also part of that. People are the driving force behind business progress. People are generalized problem solvers. They invent new things. They improve old things. They imagine the future and find ways to make them or make it so. And in the context of business productivity, the pandemic has reminded us of two things. People are amazingly resilient and can adapt to changing circumstances, and they make all the difference. But you can't increase people productivity by treating them like machines. When it comes to people, more work doesn't equal more output. We sprint, then we need time to recover. And what's more, we're social animals. We need each other. We need to face each other. If we can't do it physically, we'll have to do it virtually. So we need to work best together. You know, organizations have been permanently transformed by the pandemic. There's no doubting about that. We need to think about our office spaces, whether we were physical beforehand and how we're going to move to it in the future. And when we do go back, you know, that was our center of gravity, was the office space. Well, it's no longer a place you go. It's a set of activities that people need to perform their job. And we can do that from anywhere. Statement back from January last year from William Gibson, you know, it felt like a prediction for the future. Well, that future's here. You know, the offline online distinction has gone. You know, so I'm going to show you a short video now from Microsoft on how the world's coped and adapted to those changes, be it good and bad.
Research shows like flexibility and greater empathy to others. 62% of people feel more empathetic toward colleagues now that we can all see into each other's lives at home. On the other hand, there are concerning trends. We're eroding the social capital built over decades over water coolers and hallways, leading to loss of connection and feelings of isolation. People are working longer hours, leaving them feeling depleted, with the biggest increases in teams' usage outside the typical 9-to-5 workday and on weekends. Workday length increased 17% in Japan, 25% and 45% in Australia. 1/3 of remote workers say the lack of separation between work and life is negatively impacting their well-being. And more than 30% of information workers and first-line workers say the pandemic has somewhat or significantly increased their symptom burnout. But 70% of people also indicate that meditation could help decrease work-related stress. And that people want to do great work. The big question, how can technology help?
Okay, I think we had a problem with the audio there. I do apologise for that. We'll see if we can get the audio sorted out. There are a few more videos. Most are with me speaking, so there's only 1 or 2 with audio in there. But effectively, as you can see from that video, because there was subtitles there as well, Microsoft's, you know, seen that the world has changed quite significantly. Not everyone can work from home, we recognise that. But for those people who can work from home, we need to think about what tools they need to work with, not physical, but also virtualized tools, and how we can best make them work with those tools, be it either existing technologies and infrastructure or building you up and bringing you to that digital innovation. You know, think about it in 4 different areas: productivity, storage collaboration, service and storage, and communication and calling. Those are the 4 main product areas. Productivity, well, you've got the Microsoft 365 stack for that. You know, you've got Teams, you've got Outlook, and all the O365 applications that can help you be the backbone of everything that we do. We've got storage and collaboration from OneDrive and SharePoint, but you've also got the storage for power from Google Drive and G Suite. You know, it's got collaborative applications in there. So if you didn't want to use the Microsoft stack, you can actually use different stack technologies. And then for servers and storage, well, we still have on-premise applications or existing apps that have to run in a server architecture. Well, you can use Microsoft Azure for that, gCloud, BCN Cloud, or on-prem data centers. They can also be part of your cloud-based approach. And your communication and calling. It should be the entire workforce that is available from anywhere at any time, seeing the presence and availability of your users, making it easier for them to give employees, making it easier for you to give your employees the tools to succeed without having expensive or on-prem hardware. It shouldn't be an IT burden either. You know, we're trying to make this easy for both our users and for us as IT admins. You know, what has 2020 taught us? So I'm going to go through what it's taught us: calling meetings, huddle spaces, customer engagement, making the home office work for us, the actual office, what we can do to improve and adapt. You know, 2020, well, apart from the fact that you still can't trust a politician, you can't go to a footy game with no fans, it just doesn't work. We've learned a lot. You know, in 12 months, we've learned that we are forced to work from home, but we can succeed doing so. We can trust our staff to go home with technology, not break it, not get it covered in pens and crayons by the kids. We can trust that they will actually work rather than sitting there watching Netflix all day. You know, it's a different lifestyle, but it works. It works so well that larger organizations and many different sized organizations have all thought about this in a far more intuitive way and gone, right, okay, well, I don't need my £6 million office anymore. I don't need to take up 10 floors of a 10-story building. Actually, I can take up 4 floors, change the way that we work, have more meeting rooms, have more collaborative spaces, and get rid of, effectively what was the old office architecture. So there are many organizations that have already done this. For example, Square. This is an article that came out a few months ago from Square. We want our employees to be able to work from where they feel most creative. So if I was an employee of Square and I felt more creative working from the park bench or from my garden, that's where I'll work. I am a creative person in that space. That's the best for me. If you work better within an office environment, that's fine. We're not holding that against you. You're more than welcome to go to an office. So it's understanding those sorts of things. Twitter. This is another article that came through just about 6 weeks ago now. Twitter have now said publicly that they will allow all employees to work from home permanently, to the point where they are actually going to start closing their offices, reduce them down, turn them into more collaborative meeting spaces. So you can see how the pandemic has driven change as much as anything else. 70% of the UK adult population has or is working from home during the coronavirus lockdown. I am one of those 70%. Dan, who's on the webinar with me, is as well. We both work from home. I haven't actually seen the inside of our office for probably 5.5 months, other than having to drop in just to have a 10-minute meeting and then disappear again. I haven't seen our office. Doesn't mean I'm less productive. I'm more productive working from home. In a recent job survey, 65% of all respondents who came to it report wanting to be full-time remote post-pandemic. And 31% of those want a hybrid work environment. They want to be able to go to the office but work from home as well. 96% of everyone in that survey came back and said, I want to remote work from home. But business leaders have also seen that as well, because 85% of them have confirmed that they want productivity to increase in their company. Productivity has increased in their company because of greater flexibility. Well, as I've been doing some research for this webinar, I've looked at many different articles, many different headlines, and I've picked up a few. Remote work increases job satisfaction, leads to better mental health. It attracts and retains talent from different places. That's a great one. We can now have staff working employed from London, from the Northeast, from anywhere in the UK, no matter where you're based. It doesn't matter if they're remote. They can come to the office once every 6 months if they want to. They're more productive by doing that. It works for companies. It's more environmentally friendly. I haven't used my car, I haven't moved my car since before Christmas. I've saved hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds in diesel costs, as well as the environmental emissions that creates. I've made more money by doing so because I'm not spending it on fuel or mileage. So it's good for business. It's good for everyone. Zoom, their usage on their paid application only was up 191% in the last 12 months. That's more than 1.7 million active users every minute of every day. And like I said, that's on their paid subscriptions. So all the free subscriptions for 30 minutes that a lot of people use for family time, for chatting with their friends, my wife being one of them, they're not included in that count. That count's actually more like 600% when you include the free app platform. Teams, they haven't really given any more stats since November, but when they did, they said they were on more than 115 million daily active users, 4.1 billion meeting minutes in a single day in April. And that's an incredible number. To the point where Microsoft have built 3 new data centers in the world and put 123,000 new servers into their existing data centers to deal with that 750% increase in demand. A lot of that demand coming from the use of Microsoft Teams. So our staff need the tools to suit the job. Then I want to work remote, fine, we'll work remote. So what I'm going to go through is a couple of short videos around how we can make the Office 365 application stack and other application stack work for our users. Microsoft Teams, it's an obvious choice. It comes complete in every shape and form. I think everyone in the world should be using it in some fashion. It comes with all the system functionality that you need. So I'm going to go through, what is in there, what are the new things that are coming through to make it more productive. First and foremost, meetings. Teams enables rich online meetings. That's a given. Of course, you can meet anyone from anywhere. We can now do up to 49 people in that. We can reduce email clutter with chat. You know, that is the typical office chat that you'd have inside the office done virtually now. Share GIFs and emojis in there, so you've got that one-to-one chat. But then you can also share documents as well and collaborate on projects directly in Microsoft Teams. Note how these documents can be shared and worked on together at the same time using the power of collaboration. And then you're calling. You know, it replaces the need for a desk phone, allowing you to make and receive video calls together with support for voicemail, including transcriptions. Make it easy for your users to work with it. Yeah, but it's not all about Teams. What about SharePoint? What about the other applications? Look at SharePoint. They are now using Power AI to power part of their applications. So they determine the content of your application best fitting on the style of the subject you're talking about. So I've written an earnings report, starts bringing me back stock information. I can start changing the view really easy, make it a really slick slideshow by clicking a few buttons. I can use the Rehearse with Coach application using using AI. I used this last night, still told me I talk way too fast and mumble too much, but that's just me. So you can see how it uses AI to then describe how things are running. You know, it gives you the ability to work better. Word. Again, it's a simple and humble application, but everyone uses it. Let's make it slightly better. Predictive text. Gone are the days where BlackBerry would get the word wrong several times before you just typed it in yourself. This is now understanding what you're writing. But furthermore, it's also understanding what you're saying, and you can dictate or transcribe documents in. If you're like me, I hate typing things. I'd much rather talk to a PC and get that to transcribe it out. Makes life a lot easier. So you can also record a meeting, take the audio from it, push this into Word. So if you were doing meeting minutes, for example, you've just made your life a lot easier. But then, of course, you've got intelligent writing assistants as well. It understands what you're saying and add quotes in. The editor section, quite a powerful tool. It's not just a spell checker anymore. It understands what you're writing. It gives you intelligent writing results based on the content you're talking about. So if it's a formal letter, it'll give you formal writing styles. If it's an informal letter or a document, it will just give you an informal word to use, helping you to understand exactly what you're trying to put out there. And then, of course, the overall design. We want all the formatting to look right. So it'll automatically change the formatting to work with that, again, using Microsoft Graph and AI. And then Excel, again, another humble application that everyone uses. I use hundreds of different Excel documents every week. It's, again, using Power AI to drive data in there. So this one, for example, this is just going to pull back stock information directly into an Excel document, but it's live data. It'll pull back wiki information. It'll pull back LinkedIn information about users in there if you wanted to. You could add columns in, change columns, and work with that data. You could then also put an idea into it. Instead of trying to create a pivot table and spend half an hour trying to find the select columns, type in what you want it to do. It will then do a search based on that data and pull you back the correct pivot table, making life really easy, but increasing productivity in that same time. And then finally, personal filters. If you share a document and you're collaborating with someone, you've got 2 or 3 people in there, you want to be able to tick certain elements, change your filter view. But you just want it for you. You don't want to change it for everyone else. That just becomes a logistical nightmare. So you just change that view only for you. Everyone else sees a different thing. Same data, different view. And you can also comment in there. And it's not just a note, it's also a task. So you can mention someone within that spreadsheet. Microsoft will then create a task, send it an email to that person, and then assign it to their tasks list in Teams if they had that. Then, of course, Outlook. So the same thing. Over 400 people use Outlook every day to connect and organize. So we can get it to say things like, play my emails.
Right now, we've got 3 emails to hear about.
Listen to emails from my manager.
Minutes ago, your manager Miriam sent a quick email about budget planning just to you.
Schedule a meeting.
Looks like you're both free at 12:30 p.m.
So we can use the power of Cortana to drive innovation. We can ask it, a bit like the old days of Siri. You could say, I want to schedule a meeting. It will schedule you a meeting in, but it's using Power BI, Power BI and AI technologies, because you're just saying, I want Miriam to have a meeting. Well, you could have 12 Miriams in your organization. So it's then understanding which Miriam you're talking about by using AI. Well, you spoke to that Miriam last time, therefore categorically it's going to be that. Plus it was mentioned in an email, so it understands what you're doing every day. Edge, it's another thing that's changed as well. Old days of using Chrome. Chrome's a fantastic application, but it's also a hungry application. So organizations wanting to use more streamlined apps. Edge, a redesigned version of Internet Explorer, now works. Note on there that we're looking at your documents within 365, but I've not actually gone to the 365 page. I'm searching for people internally by using the search engine, because it's part of Bing. Bing is part of Microsoft. It's all working together for you. And you can also access critical sites. So this is an old SharePoint site. You can see how it works in Internet Explorer mode. So you've got cross-talent application as well. Then you can create collections as well, add documents in, collaborate on them documents, add different websites into a particular collection, rather than having 1,000 bookmarks and then not remembering what site it is. You can also add a note to give yourself an idea as to what you were on about at that time. And then of course it's synchronized. You know, that's the beauty of it all. It synchronizes between your physical device and your mobile phone and your iPad. It doesn't matter. It goes with you wherever you are. You've got cross-platform support. We've got AI-powered voice enhancements as well. You know, it's a massive technology now, where you have previously had a very loud environment. You know, working from home, very clear example. You've got the kids screaming in the background because they're arguing over a toy. If you're on a customer meeting, you don't really want them to hear that. It's inevitable, and that's just the way life is these days. But of course, you want to be able to turn around and have that filtered out to a degree. So you can do with the AI voice enhancement. And for example, here.
Got your messages. I'm looking into the unit layer. We'll have a primitive fix rolling out shortly.
And you can see that how it clears out the background noise, giving you clear and concise information. This is all available within Microsoft Teams right now. But then we can put it on a mobile. You know, AI suggested replies has come out. You might have seen this when you've got Teams on your mobile phone, where someone's typed you a message and you do a quick reply. And all of a sudden, it's asking you, giving you suggested replies. But the suggested replies are specific to the question you've just been asked. It's not just a yes or a no answer. You know, it's giving you fully suggested replies. Plus, you can reply to older messages, giving you a quotation at the top and then mention it. So you've got proper collaboration in these. You know, Teams. Well, we've all got the power of Teams now. It's a fantastic application. We use it every single day. But Microsoft make it fun. You know, at the end of the day, it's about being a social tool as well as being a collaborative tool. Do apologize. It seems the PowerPoint has frozen. There we go. Hopefully everyone can see that again. So we've got a potato on the screen. Sorry about that. It seemed to have frozen then. Okay. So we've got true collaboration. But driving collaboration, we also need hardware. And I'm not talking about physical hardware on a desktop machine or a physical laptop. I'm talking about the prohibitory hardware you use, you know, microphones, headsets, that sort of thing. So, for example, in here, a conference speakerphone. Yes, it's mainly designed for a meeting area, but it doesn't have to be. It can be used at home. I have a conference speakerphone I use all the time. So if I don't want a headset on, I can use that. Reason? Well, it gives me clear audio, but it also gives me clear microphone response. So I don't sound like I'm in a wind tunnel or in the, a concert hall. But then cameras, cameras are key these days for our employees. You need to be seen. You need to be seen well. If you're sharing a particular part of content, you want to be able to see that content as much as anything else. And then if you want to be on the move, wireless headsets, they're not expensive these days. They are fantastic though. They will give you that noise cancellation, but they'll give you the range. So you'll be able to walk away from your PC, have a conversation whilst walking around. Again, keeping for mobility and posture. Now, calling teams and meetings. Well, it needs to be any device. It needs to be on any particular mode. It needs to be from anywhere. It needs to be easy to buy, easy to use, easy to manage, trustworthy and reliable, global and open. I want it to work with everything. I want it to work with my CRM package. It needs to be good. Teams and RingCentral, these are our two product stacks that we look into as BCN Group. Why? Well, Teams, obvious native choice for many organizations across the planet, but some may not want that. So Teams is my RingCentral is a very good alternative for that. It comes with its own desktop and mobile applications. It doesn't rely on the Microsoft ecosystem to operate, but it still gives your users that corporate feel. RingCentral has, as I say, its own web app, mobile apps. It also has its own video platform, so you can switch from a video call, voice call to a video call with a click of a button. You've got the communication side of it as well. You've got their own messaging system. You've got their own engagement system as well for single channel view, so you can have all your different social media channels being viewed in a single pane of glass. And then the analytics. One of the most important parts of any phone system these days, you need to see what your users are doing. If they're receiving calls, how good's the audio quality, and overall, how well are they performing? Brilliant having all these staff remote, but we need to see they're actually doing their job. And it's not just RingCentral, it's also Teams. We use we use a backend PBX to bolster up Teams' calling applications to give you rich stats and information, to give you call recording information as well. And of course, it's Teams. It's available on many different devices, be it physical phone or virtualized. And like I say, we can have wallboards driving this information again. So when we're back in the office, we can have it on wallboards. We use Calls Teams as an integrator between that system. So it doesn't have to be a completely cloud-based system. If you've got an existing on-prem system that you would like to integrate with, we could look at doing that. But the idea is that they're cloud-based. All these tools are completely available from anywhere at any time, making your office space more productive. This is a view of what things would have looked like a year ago. Some people are still like that. Some people are very much like that these days, especially with the teaching from home. Or you end up having to improvise in between. It's fine, but there are better ways of doing it. In the right equipment for your users. We're not spending money anymore in offices or on office desks and chairs. They're not being used. So why don't we look at different types of hardware? It's around portability, good battery life, but you also want power and performance packed in as well. Solid state drives, good architecture is what's required. But then we can dock them, put them on a larger monitor so they can see. I've got Surface. I hate my Surface because it's a 7.5-inch screen that I have to look at for 9 hours a day. I'd much rather use my 27-inch monitor. I can see it. But then you can use things like lighting rings. I spend 8 hours a day on video calls. I like the lighting to be just right. Otherwise, I'm too dark, too light, or you end up with a spotlight on your head. You need to have clear visuals. But then, of course, mobility is a part of it as well. How about your workforce gets up and stands up instead of sitting down for 9 hours a day? So you could use things like rising desks. Not expensive, but very good for users, giving you an overall picture. We're now giving them a collaborative workspace to work. We've given them the tools, we've given them the architecture, giving you a new office environment. But what about when we physically go back to an office? Well, it's not going to be the same, that's for sure. We're going to have social distancing. The days of a full office, I think, have gone, unfortunately. We will end up back in offices at some point, but they certainly won't be full. you know, they're going to be a new type of office environment. Huddling around a laptop's not going to happen anymore. So what do we need to do? Well, we can look at new ways of doing things. So potential meeting room systems, RingCentral, Zoom, Teams all have their own meeting room application stacks, but it's the hardware that drives it. So we partner up with Poly and Yealink for meeting room solutions. It's converting your existing meeting rooms into a more collaborative workspace, enabling you to use better hardware, but work socially distanced. So they're virtually there as well as physically being there. And if you've got large spaces, put multiple cameras in, or have what we call a content camera. So it's one camera viewing on a whiteboard, whilst one camera is viewing an individual user. So therefore you can see the person and see what they're writing at the same time. And then personal hardware itself, you know, headsets, wired, wireless, or huddle rooms. It doesn't matter. It's around that personalization. The hardware isn't expensive anymore. There used to be £2,000-3,000 to buy hardware, and they'd be specific to an application stack. Not anymore. Wireless these days, fantastic. Echo cancellation, on ear, off ear, hang off an ear, over the ear, doesn't really matter. It's all personal preference. You know, single, mono, doesn't really matter. You can even have speakerphones in there as well. Brilliant bits of kit, depending on how you want to do it. But then we've got all this collaboration now. So we've managed to make our workforce work properly. We've given them the kit to work properly, and now we've kitted out our new office to work with all this. But we're still remote. So how do we keep it safe? You know, where are we going to put all this data? Brilliant it being on-prem infrastructure, but it's not as good if you're on a slow internet connection and you're having to download and upload files, or if you're mobile based. Of course, VPNs famously don't really work very well on mobile phones, so we need to keep connected. Well, OneDrive and SharePoint, absolutely fantastic bits of kit. What is it? Well, OneDrive is built on SharePoint technology. What's it limited to? Well, really, its storage is its biggest constraint. For example, these days, all business subscription plans, so those are your business premium subscriptions or business basic, all have a terabyte per user. So if you have 70 users in your organization, that's 70 terabytes of storage. Granted, it's not pooled, so you can't use it in the same old-fashioned way. But I mean, 70 terabytes is still an awful lot of storage, probably more than most organizations actually use. And then if you wanted more, well, you move up to an E-range or an enterprise plan, and you've got 5 terabytes. But then Microsoft said, well, if you hit 90% of that storage capacity, well, it'll increase you to 25 terabytes per person. 25 terabytes per person, that's a huge amount of storage. But then they've done the same with SharePoint. They've said, right, okay, well, total organization storage is 1 terabyte plus 10 gig per license purchase. That means you've got a terabyte per person and 10 gigabytes of SharePoint storage. But then on top of that, you've got site collections and sites themselves. Well, each site collection has 25 terabytes of storage available, and then you can have up to 2 million site collections. So that's 2 million times 25 terabytes. It's an extraordinarily large amount of data, and you can have up to 300 people on that. So we can design SharePoint solutions to work for you. But then using SharePoint and OneDrive, they're fantastic applications. You can add a shortcut to your files, giving your users easy abilities to share documents or create links to documents. Sharing documents within Teams. Beforehand, you would have had to upload them to Teams, cache them on your PC, and then share them out as a copy. You don't need to anymore. You can directly share that SharePoint or Teams-based document, keeping hold of that metadata, adding new metadata and permissions to it directly in Teams and sharing it out. Then, as an IT administrator, we want to restrict some applications from being synchronized. We don't want to synchronize an entire person's desktop, so nor do we want to synchronize desktop apps. So we can now restrict this, make sure we don't synchronize the stuff we don't need to. But then, of course, we need to make use of data loss prevention and Azure security. You know, people are working from everywhere. We want to make sure we don't lose our data. So we can protect our information at the site level.
So here we're in SharePoint, which provides the file experience for all of Microsoft Teams. Now this shows the teams and sites with the highest number of files in their classification. And here we can see the team for investment banking has 692 files that are marked with a general label. which also allows for unrestricted sharing. So the same site that we did for Microsoft Teams shows here a general classification. So here I'm able to share a file, in this case, a 5-year mission doc, externally to Alan over at Fabricam. Now, files in this repository have not yet been labeled as confidential. So from our SharePoint Admin Center, we're able to apply policies to the entire team without user intervention. And here, we'll make all files in the investment banking team confidential. Now, in Compliance Center, we can have more granular control over our information sharing policies. You can see that the team is set to private, limited web-only access means that unmanaged devices can't sync, print, or download content from the team. And we're also able to control the external sharing options. In this case, we block external sharing. So if I go back into Teams, I can see the confidential label has now been applied to the team. And when I try to share that same file to Alan again, Microsoft Information Protection blocks this external sharing. And not only that, but the link that I sent earlier is retroactively protected and will no longer work. So when I open the file in Teams, I receive a notification at the top that I can download or print or sync with this device because it's not managed by my IT department.
So you can see that we can now put classifications and data retention on particular parts of the documentation without getting the user involved. So we're doing this all centrally from home, delivering it out to all our users. You know, we can protect sensitive documentation using DLP technology, data loss prevention tags. We can secure your entire digital estate using Microsoft Defender. We can see what's happening, what's going on. We can look at where all your threats are coming from. We can recognize high threats. So if your user's getting ransomware, we don't want to infect any other party organization from it, even though they're remote. They could still have the potential to infect. So we want to have an attack report. We want to understand what else has been affected at that same time. So we can have an investigation and a workflow, see where it's come from, see where it's going, and stop it. Now, we've now got collaboration. We've now got hardware. We've now got the new workspace, and we've now got data retention. But I still want to manage the physical hardware. I still want to understand what my users are doing with that hardware, especially when they're remote. You know, traditional domain joined technology only works whilst they're on a VPN, and even then it's a bit flimsy because they're so far apart. So group policies, group policy updates, device updates don't necessarily work in the same fashion. And especially if they're from the office for so long now, some of these devices are becoming untrusted from our network. So that means when they come back to an office, they're going to have to visit the IT room to get their device rejoined to the domain. It's going to cause headaches. What can we do? Well, we can use Azure Sentinel, Microsoft Threat Protection to help with these sorts of things. So we can start using Azure AD to join those devices. That means they're connected to your Microsoft environment and your on-prem environment by AD Sync, but from a cloud endpoint. We can use Endpoint Manager. We can understand what is going on with those end user devices. So what applications they've got installed, what they are doing on it. We can do some proper device logging on it. We can do lockout policies. So if we've got staff who are going on furlough and we don't want them to use hardware, we can lock them out remotely. As soon as that device touches the internet, it's locked out. We can block malware with safe attachments. Absolutely fantastic technology. So we can open documentation up, and obviously you see the general, enable editing protected view bar. As soon as you click that, if there was malicious content hidden in the background, it will automatically go in, ransomware in this case, and then encrypt all of our documents. You get the usual, your files are encrypted, go and pay us $1 billion Bitcoin and sort it. We don't want that. That just causes headaches. So Microsoft have come up with new technologies and new ways of doing this. So when you reopen the document up now, you can see it's blocked. Defender ATP is now scanning that document. It's found malicious content. Therefore, it's now stopped it. But above that, as an IT admin, you've just been notified at the same time that malicious content was delivered to a user. The user clicked on it, but it's not about attacking the user. It's about making sure that malicious content never comes through again. But then if you wanted to still run in virtualized environments, you know, RDS, that sort of way of working, RDS is a fantastic technology and it's still very good today. The problem with RDS and remote desktop technologies is that it's not designed for collaboration because it's intrinsically not very good at it, especially when you want to put Teams and voice and video through an RDS. It just doesn't work. So Microsoft have combated this and deployed what we call VDI, or virtual desktop environments, which are Microsoft's latest technology in remote desktops. It allows the use of Teams through a remote desktop window. Unfortunately, it's limited to Microsoft Teams. Citrix have their own version of. But what it allows you to do is have all of that information ready to rock and roll, so you can have your existing on-prem apps built into a VDI environment. So we've got all our secure apps in there. We've got all our data secured in there. Then the laptop becomes a dumb terminal again to a degree. You could still have Teams installed locally so they can have their video calls and chats if you didn't want it through the VDI, or if you were using different technology stacks like RingCentral on local devices, you can still have that. So you're using Intune along with VDI. You now got a secure collaborative environment for your users. And on top of that, if they break a device while working from home, and they've got a personal device there ready to go, they could jump on their personal device as a BYOD temporary solution or as a permanent solution for your organization. And then risk-based conditional access. One of the most fantastic things to come out of Microsoft. This puts conditional access policies into your environment. But we don't want it separated by IP. That becomes a logistical nightmare. Most residential broadbands, of course, have dynamic IP ranges, meaning that their IP address will change periodically over the course of a day, for several days. So if you have conditional access based by IP, that's going to become a logistical nightmare. So you can do conditional based access based on the user's location or based on the user's device that they're logging in with. So if they're then on an unknown device, you can lock them out. So you're combating the fact they're working from home in different IP ranges by using different technology methods. So to round up, what have we done? What have we talked about? Well, we've talked about supporting you on your digital transformation journey. You know, we can design and implement solutions that work for you and your organization. You can make full use of the Office 365 licensing suite. And we can help you on that cloud communication and collaboration journey. If you've only just started it or you're thinking about it at the moment, we can look at going there. To help you do that, of course, we're looking at a free 30-minute discussion on how BCN can help you on this journey. Feel free to scan the QR code, or we'll deliver this out at the end of the presentation by email, so you can have that as well. And then have a chat to me, have a chat to our other infrastructure techs and our transformation consultants on how we can help you. There's no risk, you know, if you don't want to do anything, that's fine, but it's always good to understand is what can be done. And it doesn't always necessarily mean lots of expense. I hope this has been okay. You haven't fallen asleep. I personally don't like doing webinars without seeing an audience. Just personal preference. I always like to see the people I'm talking to. But by all means, you know, the floor is open for Q&A if you want to, and I'll happily answer any questions anyone's got.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. So as Mark's just said, look, the floor is yours. We said all along, this is a fully interactive session. I want to make sure you're getting the most out as possible. So we did have a question that came in halfway through, and it was a question. It's a question more focused around cloud telephony. With this home working that we're all now going with, how does the cloud telephony system work? Would I need someone in the office in order to direct calls, transfer calls, etc.?
No, that is the beauty of a cloud-based system. You know, you don't need to be in an office. That the system is wherever you are based. You can still have physical hardware at a home environment if you really wanted to. If your users want to have physical hardware, they can do. There's no requirement for it though.
Okay, great. And a question for me, Mark. With the cloud telephony infrastructure, do you need a phone? Can you how do you headset? How is the best way of being able to get calls straight into a person's desk, whether working from home or in the office?
I always like to say it's not necessarily about what we're going to push to your users. It's what do your users want. Hardware these days has become a lot more cost effective. Headsets range from about £60 to about £120 for a good headset. give them the options, give them a wired or a wireless variant, 1 ear, 2 ear, doesn't really matter, or physical hardware, and give them the personal option, make them feel empowered. You know, it's not costing you any more to do so, and the management of that tech stack is a lot easier these days with the use of Intune and device management.
Lovely, thanks. So we've had no other questions come through, so I think you've obviously answered everything everyone wanted to know, Mark. But we've still got a few more minutes because a couple more slides I just want to touch upon before we end today's webinar. So, you know, please feel free to ask any questions during this period. I just want to draw your attention. We're a big believer in webinars, even though Mark just said he doesn't like to do them. Usually, I see the whites of people's eyes, but we have got another webinars which Mark, in fact, himself is getting involved. Himself. A lot of them. So we have a webinar tomorrow, continuing on the same theme, which is making sure you continue this digital transformation in 2021, that you just don't stop and think that, you know, potentially it's all done. So tomorrow is an end user focused webinar about making the most of Microsoft Teams. You know, we all should know how to send an IM or do a call, video call, schedule a meeting. So we want to take it to the next level and actually start to look at some of the functionality, some of the services that are in there that you may not know about. It's an incredibly powerful tool, as Mark talked about. It's evolving all the time as we go along. We then got another webinar, which is a week yesterday, so Tuesday coming, and that's more geared towards IT managers and IT administrators. That's all about how to take better control of Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams now has been around for quite a number of years, actually, but it's only really, as we know, through the last year that it's grown momentum incredibly quickly. But like with most things, as soon as it came out, terms then started to appear based on how it's being used. And one of them, for instance, is team sprawl. It's like, and what that means is people creating teams and sites just for the sake of it. So we all want to take better control. We all want to build that environment that works for our business, because no one business is the same. No two businesses are the same, I should say, sorry. So that's what that webinar is focused again to. That's next Tuesday. Following on from that, Thursday, we talked about a little bit here, but we're going to go to more depth. It's making the most of your Microsoft 365 experience and usage. Many of us were using lots of different tools and lots of different applications. Where actually a lot of them, unbeknownst to us, are actually within our Microsoft 365 license. For instance, you might use a survey tool, which you also pay for, but you're aware that Microsoft has its own survey forms-based system. So it's about maximizing that and therefore maximizing your investment. And the final one from that, and again, this is more of an IT manager, IT administrator focus, is around taking greater control of that Microsoft 365 environment. Again, we touched upon it a little in this webinar around the security features. So they're all coming up in the next few weeks. We have some more lined up that we want to cover off, a little bit more around security, a little bit more again on that modern workplace. We've got Azure infrastructure webinar being planned, and a SharePoint one as well. In addition to I just want to say, to quickly move on, sorry, those webinars, they're all free to attend. You can find them on our website as well, or in our email subscriptions. The final thing I want to touch upon is we have some guides. Again, these are all available for you to download from our website. One that's very prevalent today is how to plan for that your IT workplace modernization 2021, and a guide about, you know, the services and the functionality that comes within Teams and Office 365. And that's kind of it really from us. It just leads me to say thank you very much for attending. We've had a couple of messages regarding the copy of the presentation. 100% you will get a copy of this presentation. We also have an on-demand version as well, which will go live shortly after this, both on our website and on our YouTube channel as well. But like I said earlier, it leaves me to say thank you very much for joining us again, and I hope to see you in one of our webinars in the future.
Thank you very much.